Hi, Lisa, and welcome to the Maestro Online.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, nice to be here.
It's great having you. So, I've been following your socials for quite a while, and as a trombonist, you have quite an online presence, even sorry, and that's obviously on your social media presence because there's a huge background to your journey and everything you've done, how you've begun, your worldwide experiences, classical, musicals, pop, a whole range. How did it all begin for you?
Oh my gosh, that's a crazy question. I mean, I loved music ever since I was a kid. So I was always like singing and doing like acting and shows and stuff when I was little. And then I started playing piano lessons. And then I started in band in school. And I played a lot of different instruments. I started on saxophone and then did clarinet for a while. And then I started doing trombone when I got to high school and started doing marching band and stuff. And then I've been playing trombone ever since. I was kind of sold after that.
So we owe it all to marching band.
Pretty much, yeah. I loved it. I was so into that when I was younger. So
Were your parents musical as well?
not really. Yeah, I was kind of like the only one in the family, really. So my brother and my sister like played instruments like as most kids do in band, for a year or two, and then they kind of fell off. But yeah, I'm pretty much the only one in my immediate
So
family.
at,
So.
at what point did you know from your band days that you were going to take music a lot further and you wanted to take it professionally?
I guess it was really when I was going to college and thinking about what I was going to study, and I just couldn't think of anything else. It was like music was really the only thing that I wanted to do. And while I was kind of still in college, I started playing professionally, and I went on a tour in Japan in 2008, I believe, was the year. And I was just sold. I was like 21 at the time, I think, and it was like the funnest thing ever. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just want to do this forever. So
And I know
yeah,
Japan became really important to you.
yeah,
So tell us more
yeah.
about your Japanese journey.
Well, that show I just mentioned I did in 2008, it was called Odyssey. It was a stage performance show. They had an all female cast, which was really cool to be around that many other female musicians. I've really never ever done something like that since, that was like an all female cast or all female thing. So I did that in 2008. And then in 2011, I joined the show Blast, which is another Broadway type of stage show. And was touring kind of on and off to Japan with that show almost every summer. So it's kind of like I spent the year in Phoenix or the season, and then over the summer I would go to Japan. And then in 2016 I moved there and ended up living there for about 5 years. So and continued to work with Blast, and I did other theater shows and productions over there as well. So it was weird. It just kind of kept like calling me back. I
Yeah.
had been there several times, and then I ended up living there for a while. So
Did you
yeah, it was
absorb
awesome.
any Japanese musical culture while you were there?
Um, Not really like any traditional Japanese music, but they really love and support music there. There was just like a lot of theater shows. They have like so many orchestras. There was like the jazz clubs. It was way different, I feel like, than the States. Like people really would go to all these shows and performances and really, like appreciate it. So that was really cool.
And of course, you also do a lot of work with a particular pop band.
I do. Which one are you referring to?
Uh, I'm
Oh,
referring to,
you mean
well,
in Japan or now?
no, I'm referring to the Hourglass Cats.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Sorry, I was like, which one? Yes, yes. They're a local band from Phoenix, Arizona, and they do like a kind of like ska, rock, reggae kind of music. So I've been playing with them for quite a while. So
So how did you get involved with that?
I was actually playing, just subbing in for a friend at a show in Scottsdale, Arizona, playing in another what's the name of the band? Two Tone Lizard Kings. They're another ska band, and I was just subbing in just one show, and then two members from the Hourglass Cats were at that show, and they saw me on stage, and they just came up to me and they're like, "Hey, you should be in our band," and kind of been with them ever since. So I just met them at another show. Yeah.
So do you find playing in a ska band completely different to your musical theatre passion? Is it a very different discipline?
Yes and no. I think what's different about being in more like the pop realm, or I call it like stage performing. I mean, because you are on stage, right? So
Yeah.
that's the cool thing. You're visual, you're on stage, you're like a part of the band and in the show. versus a lot of the musical, well, some of the musical theater stuff I did was mainly like pit orchestra stuff, right? So you're in the pit orchestra, you're under the stage. Um, but similar to like the shows I did, like Blast and Odyssey, that was more the musicians were on stage. So I mean, yes and no, you know. So it's like the performance aspect I feel is nice being on stage, but uh, yeah, and also I mean, not I'm thinking of pit orchestra. It's like, you know, you have the music and you're reading it, and there's the conductor and all that. So it's definitely different in that sense. You know, everything's kind of,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
what I was going to ask you. Is there more opportunity for creativity in the ska band?
oh,
Whereas,
100%, yeah.
yeah. So
Like,
tell us about that.
well, that was kind of like my first opportunity to even be in a place where I could be kind of creative musically. I mean, obviously, like the music writing process, you know, like writing songs with the band, or I do like all the horn arrangements and writing for the band, you know, so getting to like do that. But then also, you know, in live performances, you know, getting to improvise and solo and play off each other and feed off each other. You know, there's certainly much more opportunity for that in the live shows, you know, than perhaps maybe a musical theater show or something where you're just kind of reading the music.
Yeah, is that where improvisation began for you, or was it earlier on in your
Mm,
journey?
I mean, when I was in high school, I played in jazz band, but really didn't learn a whole lot there. And then I didn't really start my bachelor's degree. I just kind of did classical and band and stuff. I didn't really even do any jazz or improvising. But then when I went back for my master's, I started to get into jazz a little bit. But I didn't really do too much of that outside of school. Yeah, so it really was more in like the pop rock kind of realm where I got, you know, the opportunity to start improvising live and in that kind of space.
And do you feel that's more significant in terms of your musical freedom or your ability to express yourself, or is it particularly more satisfying, for instance?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's really fun to be able to play, you know, kind of whatever you want or whatever you're feeling or with your friends really, you know, like with a group of people that you enjoy playing with. I think that's probably my favorite thing, you know, getting to play with musicians that you really know really well and get to communicate with and have fun with. So,
I also know you've had some fantastic teachers on your journey. Um,
yeah.
who's really standing out in your in perhaps still having a presence in your life now, as in their words of wisdom perhaps are still there.
Yeah, there's I have had a lot. I have had a lot of different teachers. Definitely the one. It's kind of funny because he was never really even my main teacher. His name was Sam Palafian. He was actually the tutor professor at ASU when I was there. And I took lessons with him for only one semester, even though I was a trombone player. But he actually was the first one who got me interested in doing different styles of music and telling me I need to like start doing jazz and all these other styles, you know, that I really hadn't been doing up until that point. He taught me so much. Like you said about the words, like there's stuff that he's told me that even now, however many, he passed a few years ago, which is sad, but however many years later, I still like think of things, you know, like that he said, and or even at the time, it's like I maybe didn't understand what they meant. You know what I mean? But it's like
Yeah,
now I do. So it's very interesting to
yeah.
have that reflect back
So
on.
when you're improvising, you're obviously playing more by ear, whereas when you're playing in the musical theatre, you're obviously playing more by following dots.
Yes, yes,
Um,
definitely.
is playing by ear something that's come naturally to you, or is that something you've had to work at?
It's really interesting. I was just having this conversation actually with another musician earlier today. Because I learned in school band and all that, I learned to read first, and it was funny actually when we were taught. They would tell us not to learn by ear or by rote. You know, they really wanted us. They really harped reading the sheet music so much. So when I first started playing by ear, I think it was probably once I started gigging. Really, I think the first ones were like in wedding type bands or pop bands, where like there are no charts, there is no music, right? So you just have to go up there and listen to the, you know, play the song. So that's kind of how I first started getting into it. But it's funny now, like even though I do have the background in classical music and know how to read, I prefer to play by ear now. I find when I read sheet music, it's like a different part of my brain, and I find that like maybe it's because of my history or how I learned it or the type of music. It's almost like I'm paying attention less. You know what I mean? I'm focusing on reading and not. I feel like when you're playing by ear or without sheet music in front of you, you're listening more. You're more you're more active in that way. And I feel too, you can like focus on your performance a little more, right? Like your head's not
Yeah.
in a music stand, or you're not worried about flipping the pages on your iPad or flipping the page. You know, you're really, at least for me, I feel much more like involved in the music and what's going on.
Yeah, my journey's the same, classically trained. But I think once I started jazz and improvisation, etc., I think I actually was more aware of more detail in people's playing. I think I
Oh,
was hearing more.
100%. Yeah, you really, it's kind of like you get your head up a little bit, you know, you know,
Yeah.
you really just start listening more. And I think that's a great thing you just said. Yeah, like hearing details on other people's playing. Yeah, I definitely love listening to all my friends and colleagues play.
So,
And
if I was to ask you for one career highlight, um, what would that be? And it can be absolutely anything. It might not be something on a massive stage. It might be something, that personally is really meaningful to you.
yeah, I guess I'll just go with the first thing that came to mind. It was that first tour I did in Japan in 2008 with the show Odyssey. And I remember at our closing performance, you know, at the end of the show, we went off the stage and went into the audience. And at this time, this was my first time in Japan, so I didn't understand any Japanese. I didn't know anything. And this like really short, small, older Japanese woman just like came up to me and grabbed my face. Well, like, not in a threatening way, but I mean, she was bawling. She had tears coming down her face, and like, and it's like I couldn't understand what she was saying, but it's just like I knew she was just really moved and grateful. And then I don't know, it's the first thing that came to my mind. You know, it was kind of like a very powerful kind of experience knowing, and it was just like with one person, right? It wasn't necessarily with the whole thing, but it was just like, wow, like how moved, you know, seeing how moved somebody was by the performance. So
That sounds
it
amazing.
kind of sticks in my head. Yeah.
So, if you were giving advice to younger musicians or people who aspired to have a professional journey, what would be your top pearls of wisdom?
I mean, really, the one that I think of is I call it going all in, right? It's like if it's what you want to do, it's what you want to do. Like, and just having, like, there is no plan B, right? You know what I mean? Just really being focused, and if it's what you want to do, then you'll do it, kind of thing. Just really giving it everything you have, you know? I know that's a little vague, but
No, no, and it's important because I think that is really relevant to people who might be thinking, I'd like to do music. I'm not sure if I'll make enough money. I'm not sure if I'll survive. I'm not sure if I'll
yeah.
succeed. And those words of doubt, I think, are probably in most young musicians' heads at the beginning of their careers.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I mean, I've, you know, been doing music professionally since after college, and it's amazing to me, even in that amount of time, even, you know, colleagues who are my age, I've seen quit and go do other things, or and money's a huge part, right? You know, they want to make more money, and or you know, live a different lifestyle or whatever that is. But my view on it is like, if you want to do it, you will. You know, and even if you want to make money, you will. Like you'll create opportunities for yourself and create ways to make that happen. But only if you really want it. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely. If
yeah,
it's in your blood, it's in your blood.
yeah, exactly. So it's like you gotta really want it. You know?
Yeah. What about anxiety? Certainly, going to Japan must have been extremely exciting. But
Yeah.
I imagine that nerves also played a part. Are there parts of your career or moments where anxiety or nerves or worries have played a part and you've had to overcome
Yeah,
things?
I would say certainly in college. You know, that's something I even reflect back to now, like just the music school thing, you know, especially I was studying classical music and all the competition with you know, the studios and the auditions and the recitals, and it was, you know, everyone was kind of like pitted against each other. And so yeah, I definitely felt that way when I was in college, especially just the way it was at my school. It's just like, you know, especially when I was younger, it's like you have one recital a semester, you know, so it's like basically you have no performance experience, right? You perform like once every 6 months, and yeah, it can be a little nerve wracking, you know? But the way I look at it now, and looking back on it, is like that was just because it's a lack of experience, you know, and
Mm.
that's something that I tell really any of my students or anyone is just like play in front of everyone you can, you know what I mean? Play for your friends, play for, I don't know, your dog, your family, whoever, you know, anyone that will listen to you, like take every opportunity you can to like practice performing and put yourself in front of people. And the more you do it, then it's not nerve wracking anymore, you know? So I think that's what a lot of young performers have, you know, if they have performance anxiety. It's just, to me, it's just a lack of experience, you know? It's like if you only do it once or twice a year, you know, it's not enough to make you feel comfortable. So
Yes, yes, I can see that. So experience is everything. And do you
Yeah,
feel
definitely. I think
that through experience your nerves went, or do you feel that through experience you learnt to handle nerves better?
I think they went away. Yeah, I really don't. Yeah, I really don't ever get nervous anymore when it comes to playing. I mean, there are other things that make me nervous, but not
Yeah.
like if I have a trombone in my hand and I'm performing. Um, yeah, I think they just went away. It was really when I did the tour with the show Blast. I mean, we were touring and doing, 8 shows a week or whatever it was on stage, and just I think it just came with that repetition and comfortability that it just went away. So
What about musical challenges in your career, perhaps where you've suddenly had to learn something and it felt a bit overwhelming. It was quite difficult. Do you have particularly strategies to work through not just the technical learning it, but also the emotional?
yeah, definitely. I mean, I get faced with those scenarios sometimes now where, like, especially if it's like a last minute call or something, and it's like, or especially if you're doing someone's original music, that you might not, and like, yeah, you got to learn, 20, 30 songs in a day or 2 days or something. Yeah, incredibly stressful. I think the way I cope with it is just being really like methodical about it. Even prioritizing, making lists, listening a lot, taking notes, like actually doing it in a more methodical way. For me, at least helps, or jotting down notes, or keeping track of what I worked on, or things like that. So yeah, I think it's like the more I kind of break it down and get methodical about it, kind of helps me to not get so overwhelmed.
Great. So,
It's like I have to learn X amount of songs in X amount of days. Like I'll even say like, okay, I got to do at least 5 songs a day, 5 songs a day, something like that.
yes,
Just
yes,
really
yes, yeah.
breaking it
And
down.
that is the challenge of being a professional, as in, you'll have to learn a particular piece of music and you have a deadline to learn it. So even if
Oh
it is
yeah,
difficult,
exactly. Yeah,
you have to meet that
yeah,
deadline.
yeah, definitely.
And that's very different from being an amateur musician.
Yeah, because you have as much time as you want, or you have less performances, right? So it's
Yeah,
like you have a lot of
absolutely.
time in between performances to prepare and prep. Um, yeah, totally, totally different than getting a call at the last second. I mean, sometimes, if you're subbing in for some, stuff happens, right? People get sick, accidents happen. So sometimes, I mean, you'll get a call hours before, you know what I mean? So it can be like a whirlwind sometimes.
So, next question. Do you have a particular piece of music that to you rings emotionally, touches you the most? What would that be and why?
Um, oh my God, that's such a good question. It's hard to answer. Oh my gosh, that's hard. I mean, I have songs that I like and I think are fun, but something that I think like touches my heart or whatever. Though I think the ones that I really would say in that sense are "Imagine" by John Lennon. I love that song, or
Uh-huh.
probably "Somewhere Over the Rainbow" is another one of my favorites. I feel like those are like like emotional, feely type of pieces.
And what about other performers? Because as you've already alluded to, professional performers actually spend a lot of time also listening to other professional performers and learning from
Hmm.
them as well.
Yeah. Oh, like professional performers that I really like. Oh my gosh, these are such good questions. Let's see. Um, Oh my God. I feel like I'm not prepared to answer these. In the trombone world, okay, someone that I've never seen her perform live, but I found her online. I think she's amazing. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing her name right. I think it's Corinne Hamar or Karen. I'm not sure. But she's really awesome. I'm trying to think of like other performers I really like. Oh my gosh. I'm not even sure right now.
So when you hear another performer,
Yeah,
and it really connects with you,
yeah.
what is it, do you think, as a professional musician, from your perspective, what is it that they do that makes their playing meaningful and it grabs your attention and you turn your head and you listen? What is it
Yeah.
that connects with people?
Well, I think it's different for everybody. But for me, what I really like is I'm a big like sound person. Like I know from someone if they play one note, like if I'm interested, right? Like it's not even about the technique and even what they're playing. It's just like a nice sound. That's something I always listen to and listen for. And the other thing I really like is when I can hear someone's personality in their playing. Like the idea of like if I have my eyes closed and I hear I know who it is. Like that I really like. I like when players play differently or uniquely. Not so much like who can play fastest, higher, louder, all that stuff. It's like I like to hear like an individual personality when I
That's
hear.
kind of like the Louis Armstrong moment, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, something like that. Yeah, exactly. I like hearing someone like if I hear someone approaching their instrument differently or sounding differently, I was like, that's my jam. I'm all in when I hear something like that. Like I like that.
So, if you were to give us one piece of advice about listening to other
Hmm.
players, what would you tell us?
Interesting. I would say you can learn something from everybody. I learned from everyone I play next to. I guess it would be maybe just like ask yourself like what do I like about their playing? Like maybe there's a particular thing that you like that they do, or maybe like not to be well, what do I not like? Even like quite like as you're listening, being like what do I like about their playing? And I feel like anyone you can say something that you like about their playing, or even talking about like what are some of their signature things that make it's that person. I find like people have signature little licks or sounds or things that they do that make them special, so it's cool to kind of like pick know what those things are about your colleagues or other players. Again, going back to the idea of like how it's them, like
Yes,
what's
and if you're learning a particular solo, and there's a number of
mm,
great players who've previously performed that solo,
mm.
where's your ear drawn to? What's your ear picking out from these different performances?
For me personally, I love more melodic playing, you know what I mean? So it's like I really like someone who creates nice melodies and tells a story and, kind of has more that approach than like maybe like a mathematical kind of approach. So that's something that I like when I listen to. I like
What do you think is important that creates that telling a story?
you have to, I mean, be thinking of it in your head, right? Like you like what is this about? Like what am I even saying? Or if it's like a longer solo or like where's this going? Like what's the
Yeah. Do you
the
think that's a mixture of dynamics, delay vibrato, how the notes on set?
oh my gosh, yeah, it could be everything, yeah, or even like I mean time and space, right? Like or tempo. I mean, really, yeah, it could be anything. So just having like the variations and
So
yeah.
finally, what do you think is the Lisa signature thing that makes her stand out in her playing?
Um, well, I mean, I think so kind of my view on music and my career is just like I kind of like don't get me wrong, I love music and I love playing, but I kind of like the whole picture. You know what I mean? Like I really enjoy being on stage and performing. Even enjoy dressing up to get on stage. I enjoy being on camera. I enjoy taking videos. Obviously, the social media stuff that I started doing. I also enjoy, like arranging and writing, and I've even directed like some shows before. Like, I like looking. So it's like that's kind of how I feel about it. I like kind of like doing a lot of different stuff. So I feel like that makes me stand out. I just do a lot of different things. You know what I mean? Not just like just play on my horn all the time. If that, oh, I mean, I do, but I don't know if that makes any sense. But
Is there a way that somebody could find how to unlock their personality through their playing so they tell their own story and they have their own uniqueness? Could you give us
yeah,
a little tip?
I think the biggest part of it is just confidence that like you already know enough. You already have everything you need to like tell your story. And I think the biggest thing is confidence and not comparing yourself to other people. Like there's no competition with any other player, even if it's the same instrument. You know what I mean? Because they're never gonna play like you play, and vice versa. So I think that's the thing is just being confident to know that you already have what it takes. You already can do whatever you want to do. It's like even someone who has beginning skills can still participate and play music and show their personality. So it's like I think a lot of musicians, especially when they're younger, or me going through college, like everyone's all competing and it's the same thing, so it's natural to compare and be competitive. But I think for me, like once I switch my head out of that mindset of it's not a competition. It's not this person's better or worse or whatever. And it's just like you're the only you there is. So it's like really, I feel like that's like your key to success or whatever. Just getting comfortable with who you are and how you play and what you represent, because no one else is going to be like you. So I think that's probably the biggest thing is just don't compare yourself. So
I think that's a great message to end on. No one else is going to be like you.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So
Lisa, thank you so much.